Bismillah. Welcome to another study tip. Today's study tip is all about study guides. For those of you that are taking exams, quizzes, tests, preparing for presentations or speeches, having a good study guide can be an excellent way to mastering the material. So, the first thing is, it is very important for you as a student to prepare your own study guide. This has a number of benefits, as opposed to borrowing a study guide of a partner or a friend in class, or looking for a study guide that's been prepared in the past and available perhaps at the copy shop or the bookstore. When you prepare your own study guide, that means you have to take your book or your notes and your material, and you have to sift through it yourself, requiring you to read all of the material, hopefully reading from cover to cover, or for all, or having to read through all of the chapters and material that's required. And then when you read through it, you have to read through it with the intent of filtering out or sifting out, picking out the pieces that you want to remember, the information that you want to store and write down in your summary here. Okay, so that requires a number of things. You got to think about it, you got to read it, and then you have to transfer it in your own handwriting or own typing. And so there's a connection that begins to happen and a familiarity with the material that begins to develop. So to give an example here, this is a study guide that I wrote about 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. This is in the class that I was taking was Islamic Studies. It was fiqh, which is the Islamic jurisprudence, and this was in the Arabic program in the Islamic University of Medina. And so in preparation for the exam, I took my book here, which I have, and I went through the book, of course, when it was getting close to exam time, a couple weeks to go or so, and then I started to go through the book and pick out the material that I wanted to summarize and write down. An excellent tip here when doing a study guide is to write your study guide in a question-answer format. The question-answer format helps you out in terms of being familiar with possible questions that will come in the exam or quiz. And then you get used to answering questions while you're studying. So if you take a look here, this study guide matches with this particular book. So in the beginning, we can see that this first introduction to the text, it is the definition of al-fiqh, the meaning of fiqh. Okay, so the text, it reads: "هو في اللغة الفهم يقال فقه يفقه بمعنى فهم يفهم والفقه في الاصطلاح العلم بالأحكام الشرعية المأخوذة من أدلة الكتاب والسنة." So here, if you understand Arabic, then you know that in the linguistically it means understanding. And it said فقه, meaning he's understood something. يفقه بمعنى, that here it means that he's understood something, therefore he has fiqh. And in the technical definition, it's the knowledge, or al-ilm, having knowledge of the various legislative rulings which have been derived, al-ma'khudha min adillat al-kitab, from the evidence in the Quran and the Sunnah. And so what I did in my study guide, as you can see right here, the question says بين معنى الفقه في اللغة وفي الاصطلاح. So it says give the meaning of fiqh in linguistically and it's a technical definition. So then the question has an answer. Here it is in Arabic, jawab 1. So this is the answer number 1. So linguistically, then I summarized, it means al-fahm. فقه يفقه فهم يفهم. A very short summary of an answer. And this would be sufficient for a correct answer. The next, it says, the technical definition, al-istilah, al-ilmu bil-ahkam al-shar'iyyah al-ma'khudati min adillat al-kitab wa sunnah. That's exactly what was in the book. That is a technical definition which could not be summarized any further. That is the very, very essence of the meaning. So all of that had to be captured in the study guide and then had to be memorized in preparation for the exam. Another good tip for that in preparation for your Q&A is to get some old exams. If you have access to previous semesters or previous years for the same subject, the same level, then you can pull that and get a number of those copies, and then you can see the style of questioning, the types of questions that are going to come, the expectations of the teacher, or if you've taken a midterm or a quiz or two and you understand the style of the teacher in asking, and then you can begin to imagine and put together your own study guide. So that's one example of a question and answer, and this particular study guide, which covered the required chapters, ended up being approximately 29 pages, if I'm not mistaken, and we had a number of questions for each chapter. As you can see, it goes through chapter by chapter, and that's a good way to keep your study guide organized, your summarization. And then on top of this, if you really wanted to be extra studious, you'll take your study guide and summarization, your Q&A, and then you'll transfer that to your flashcards. Hopefully you've developed a flashcard system, as was discussed previously in another study tip. You find that the flashcard system is very, very effective in mastering material, not only vocabulary words, but also in preparation for exams with Q&A, question on the front, answer on the back, and then you just sift through those flashcards until you've mastered the material. And then you can walk into your exam with great confidence, having mastered the very, very fundamentals of your material. And of course, what do you have at the end? Besides having passed your exam with the grace and success of Allah, you've walked away with your very own summarization, a study guide that you can keep with you. Like I said, this one was written about 11, 12 years ago or so. I've had it with me, and then I can make reference to it whenever I want to, and I can just get the very basics, the summarized information of that book in text, and that way I don't have to sift through things and look for them. So hopefully this is a helpful study tip for you. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.